Hey guys, this is Eric Weingartner with Weingartner Racing. I'm going to be doing a video today over these big block Chevy AFR Enforcer heads. Now before I begin talking about this, and everybody says this, but I need some subscribers so I can get paid because I want to be rich. I'm not going to lie like some of the rest of them. I'm being honest with you, just like this review. Also, before I begin, I'm doing this product review on this one. A customer had sent it in, and I want to start off by prefacing it and saying I am an AFR dealer. So if you need any AFR stuff, I can sell it to you. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because I don't want someone to think I'm biased because I'm an AFR dealer. I'm gonna give you the most unbiased opinion I can, but I want to be upfront and say yes, I do sell these heads. But this one actually, a customer had sent it in for me to possibly do some work on, but I didn't sell the heads to him. Now, you may have seen these. These are not like the normal AFR heads. Most AFR heads are like, at least big block Chevy, there'll be some part or CNC ported like the chambers. These are your Enforcer line, which is they call them an offshore head, which means they're not cast in America or even machined here. Yes, that means they're not, AFR did not do the valve job. If you ever want to notice, like, how do you tell from the outside? If you look at this logo on the AFR, it's different. Like, there's some slight differences as far as this pad here that it sits on compared to the other ones. So just look at this and you'll know. Now, as I go through this head, I'll try to give you as much information as possible, and I am going to give you a honest, real review. So this is what it looks like from each view, so I hope you get an idea. There's your intake. And I'll get to all this in just a minute. This is what the chambers look like. And sorry, it's just me, so I don't want to get people. And this is what the exhaust looks like. Okay. All right. So, okay, once you spot this exhaust pattern, it gives away to me what exactly head this is. And it kind of frustrates me. I'll explain. I just don't understand why AFR picked this one. When I saw this pattern here, there's only a few heads that have this exhaust that looks like this, and I'll go through them. There's a Pro Comp head that looks like this. There's also the Pro Header head, with Pro Comp's Chinese. Pro Header is also Chinese, but now that head's been done by others, AFR now. And also the RHS. And when I initially saw it, I was like, oh, please don't. I bet you it's a Pro Header head, and I really do think it's an imitation of the Pro Header head, or it's the exact Pro Header head. But I'll go through each detail as much as I can. RHS had one initially like this, and I think what happened initially, and I'm giving you too much information here, but just bear with me. The RHS had the pattern like this, and I think what happened is Pro Comp, which is now Speedmaster, allegedly took that head and copied it, so they had something that looked like this. Well, then flash forward a few years, and another head, allegedly, Pro Header or whoever made that for them, decided to redesign a few things, and they came out with their head, which is slightly different than the Pro Comp head. And I believe that this head, allegedly, is the Pro Header casting. And of all the heads for AFR to take, I don't understand why did they pick this one. There's actually, and I'm not making this up, there's another cylinder head company, allegedly, actually two of them, that actually have a Chinese knockoff, allegedly, of the AFR 315 head. So why in the world would AFR, why would you pick to copy a head that's a head that sucks instead of picking a Chinese copy of your head? Your head is so much better. Instead, you chose this one. Now I'm gonna go through all the problems with this as much as I can. The video's long, I'm sorry. But anyway, let's talk about it. A lot of people with the Chinese heads, when they go, well, you save money, just put American parts in it. Well, that's pretty much what AFR has done. This is a Pro Header head, and I'll tell you some of the stuff. I took it apart, and this is the valve that comes in it. And I don't know if my camera's going to capture it. Not very well, anyway, looks like. But I'll go ahead and tell you, this is an AFR valve. So I think they get their valves from Argentina. Don't feel bad about that. That's actually good quality stuff. A lot of good people do. But this is a nice valve, nice intake valve. This is the same one you would get in their 305 heads. Good valve. This is their exhaust valve, also quality valve, good valve. That's good. These are the springs that came on it, and they're very good too. No problems there. There's your locks, everything's good. The only thing I have a beef with is these are the seals that came with it. I know at one time AFR used these seals, but they haven't since. They now use, at least in all their small block side, and I thought all the big block side, they use seals that look like this. These are the better seals, and these aren't my favorite. They're by far not my worst, but I don't like these because you see these rings, this ring and that top one, several times will come off and they'll go in the oil. Usually it's because people didn't set them up right and have too much lift and it hits this and knocks off, or they weren't put on right. They seal up pretty good. They're just not the best. These are the quality ones you need. And usually AFR puts these on them. So that's the only thing I could say as far as the hard parts that they use that is different from like their AFR 305, 315, they're good stuff. That as far as parts wise. So if you're asking about parts, the parts are pretty good. But let me flip over and I'll show you the chamber side. Okay, now this is the chamber side, and I'll get to the worst in a minute. Now, if you were trying to see how can you tell if a head's a pro comp versus a pro header, I've been doing heads so long now it's easy to tell. This is not a pro comp or a pro comp casting, or one that's like a pro comp casting, because a pro comp casting actually has looks like they took an RHS chamber and then modified some stuff. So I know this isn't a pro comp casting, because the pro comp would have it would come off larger here, the spark plug would actually be about here, and the chamber shape this side wouldn't be like that, it'd be more curved up. It's hard to describe, but it's different. So this is like what I said when pro header, allegedly, whenever pro header made it look like they took the intake port from the pro comp. So this part and this part came from a pro comp. The exhaust part came from the pro comp, and they put a different chamber on it. Because really, that's the only thing that separates the pro header from the pro comp, allegedly, is the intake port and the exhaust port, pro comp, chamber, pro header. And that's what this head is. And if you're like, no, that can't be. All right, I'm about to show you what I mean. I got my pointer here, so wrong side. I got my pointer here so you can kind of see it. Look at that guide. This is pro comp. And pro header did the same thing. So they redid the chamber and left this crap. Look at that. See all that bulge there? What vein? It's just a blob. Let me look at this one. Same thing, blob. And I'm gonna get a flashlight, so hold on. Okay, I got the flashlight set up. So you see this whole area around the guide? Look how crappy that is, right? That screams pro comp. And the next giveaway is this. You see this lump here? I know you see it. It's huge, it's in each one. This one will have flights, but you can kind of see it. It's right there. I'm gonna go ahead and warn you, because somebody's gonna start grinding. Guaranteed they're gonna start grinding. You can shape this guide and narrow it down and make it better, but you cannot take out this lump. And I know someone's like, no, yes you can make that straight, because no other head besides Pro Comp has that. The RHS, no, doesn't. And by the way, I'm not implying RHS was a Chinese head. They just got copied, but they copied it bad and left this lump here. That lump you cannot grind out, because you know what's behind it. It's the spring pocket. If I ground that smooth, you'll put a hole right where the spring sits, the valve spring. Ugh, horrible, horrible, horrible. So you can shape this down and make it flow probably a little bit better, but you cannot grind this down. You'll have a hole right here in this region. This goes all the way up where the spring is, and you'll be sucking oil in. Okay, so there's that. So that dead indication that this is a Pro Header head, because Pro Header copied the Pro Comp intake port and exhaust port. That's what those are, guaranteed. This chamber, allegedly, sorry. This chamber is the only thing that Pro Header and other companies like it, I should say, changed from the Pro Comp, because the Pro Comp chamber is different. Now, the other thing that's different between a Pro Comp and a Pro Header is, look how thick the seat is. If you ever like wondering, the seat thickness is much better on a Pro Header head than it is a Pro Comp. Also, Pro Comp uses, like, for instance, the Pro Comp seat would stop right here. It's really not very deep. And the problem with that is the Pro Comp ones were notorious for breaking off. This seat's good. So don't think I'm saying that these aren't good. That seat material is good. So Pro Header changed some things, and AFR's got this. This seat is way better than the Pro Comp, guaranteed. It's a better material too. It's not going to break off. The chamber's better, but the intake port and exhaust port, not so much. Now, when we look at the flow numbers, you're like, that looks pretty good to me. That's still hideous. Anyway, a couple things. Use the AFR heads whenever they get any of the others. They'll be CNC chambered. These aren't. So you got that little ledge there, that kind of hurts flow. So there you have that. Okay. So far, hope you're seeing it. Everything good. Now let me flip it over to the other side, so you see the intake port side, because I'm going to talk about one other thing that I don't like. Okay, here's the intake port side, so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. It really, as far as the smoothness of the casting, it's actually pretty smooth. All Chinese heads, for whatever reason, are pretty smooth castings. And then see, you can see the lump better from this angle. I hope I just remove the light. There you go. All right, so you got that view. Now, one of the things I really am not a fan of with this casting, I'm moving some stuff so you can see better, is, like I said, this intake port and exhaust port and our Pro Comp stuff, it's the same casting, that part. Well, one of the big problems that the Pro Comp casting had was right here. This part right here. You're like, what are you talking about? The distance, the measurement, so the thickness of material, get my pointer. The thickness of material right here is only 236 thousandths. That's it. I used my sonic checker to test it. Pro Comps were notorious because you put some springs on it, some really good springs. You add some RPM, and what it would do is this aluminum around here is holding that rocker stud. But you start adding some RPM and spring, and there's only 236 thousandths holding this down. They'll start cracking here, and I cannot begin to tell you the number that not only cracked here, they ripped this whole section right here out, ripped it out. Because other heads, what happens is they'll move this rocker stud up, giving it more area around it, which also means you have to move that one up, and it makes it stronger, okay? But that's not what happens here. So anyway, that I don't like. So, but in AFR's defense, because I'm sure if I was AFR, this is what I would say. They still have, I think, have a lifetime warranty on this casting. So if you were to bust that out, they'll still replace it. So overall, as far as that goes, the head itself's not that bad. It's just I don't understand why AFR, a huge company, you could have picked any head. You could have gone to an offshore and had them make for you, and you could put your name on it. Why didn't you pick the one that's copying your stuff already instead of picking this one? Now, after all this, let me show you the flow numbers, because you'd be surprised. This is the flow numbers. Okay, I'm gonna explain. This was flowed on a 4310 bore. You have, this is the long runner, because the way the big blocks work, you've got this runner as a long runner. This one actually will always flow better. This one is a short runner. Unlike, say, your Fords and Chevys and stuff, small block Chevys anyway, the runners aren't all the same or just mirrored. These are definitely different. This is different than this. They don't flow the same. So because of that, most companies don't ever publish that one, the short runner. I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you. This is the long runner, this is the short runner, that's the intake flow. I float it on a 4310 bore, this is the exhaust flow. Without a pipe, I don't use a pipe. I know when AFR flows, they like to use a pipe. I just don't. So if we look at the numbers, honestly, they're pretty good. But this is a 320cc head, they claim. I didn't CC it, I'm not gonna. The numbers are, even with all that bulge and everything else, the numbers really aren't that bad. I think the reason why these numbers down here, especially, remember, I really look at the 4, the 6, and then at the 1. That's what I look at. The 400 number for a 4310 bore is really, really, really good, both of them, which honestly kind of shocked me. And I think the biggest reason is for it is this. This is their valve, the AFR valve, but it's got a big, which I can't capture on video very good. There's a big back cut right here. That helps out low lift flow a lot. So I think that's the reason why this numbers down here are so good. But if you notice, really from 5 and up, 5's not really that impressive to me. I have expected more. But that one, 600 numbers is okay. Really not good, by the way, on the short runner. But then at 700, it's not really, it's really pretty good. That's pretty good, that's pretty good for the size. It's not bad. So I have to say, overall, if you just look at the flow numbers and I just give you this, I'm like, well, it's not a bad head. Especially on the exhaust side, it looks pretty good too. It's really, as far as flow-wise goes, it's not a bad head. If I never showed you the other stuff, there's probably room in it. I don't know how far you could port this, because like I've just got some things about it that I just don't like about that spring deal there. And I know AFR's got a warranty on it, so shouldn't be worried, but once you go grinding, you voided it. But anyway, so hopefully that gives you some kind of information about this head, as much as I can give you. If you would like to see a different head, me to do a review on it, and I'll flow it for you and do just like this. I'll tell you what I think of it. What you can do is you can email me. It's weingartnerracing@gmail.com. And if you send in your heads, all you have to do is pay for the return shipping. Now, make sure you email me first, because I've got so many heads here that I'm already getting ready to do videos on anyway, so I don't want to have duplicates, is what I'm trying to say. But some of you have different heads that I probably won't see for a while. Like I would probably never order this head anyway, because I saw it before for a customer. So that's the reason why I'm even getting to do a product review on it. But if you want to see something, yeah, just email me, and if you send it in, as long as you pay for the shipping back to you, we're good to go. Also, happy Easter. It's a special time of the year where you get to enjoy ham and family. So take care, guys.